friends. Welcome to another episode of The Bible Yogi. I'm your host, Douglas Roberts. Today is episode 42, and we will be covering the ongoing story of the saga of Moses, arguably the greatest Old Testament prophet, arguably. In this episode, we will be covering manna from heaven, and the quails, water from a rock, and Moses' father-in-law casually invents representative government. Pretty smart guy, just considering all the governments of the world, and he just says, hey, why don't you try this? And it ends up being, a foundational government for the rest of civilization. Being Image Creator did a fantastic job realizing my vision of who Moses is. They've conflated Moses and Exodus in the title here, but I kind of like it anyway. But this is how I picture Moses. He's a Superman, calling, plagues from the heavens and all that stuff. And in our last episode, he rescued the children of Israel from 400 years of slavery out of the land of Egypt, and was chased down by Pharaoh in his chariots, and he parted the Red Seas. The children of Israel went through the Red Sea following the pillar of cloud, which then hopped over and tried to thwart the Egyptians from following, and yet they did anyway, and they were destroyed and drowned in the Red Sea when the Red Sea came back in. A spectacular story, a spectacular beginning to the nation of Israel. So now that they've escaped the land of Egypt, now they're on their own. And if you remember, their plight was they ran out of Egypt following the Passover plague, the plague of the death of the firstborn. And they had no victuals, if you remember that, meaning they didn't have any food packed. No gorp, as it were. So let's pick up the story. Let's find out how they deal with this. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. So this little trail that down here, that is tracing the path of the children of Israel from the land of Egypt. They were up here in Elim, and now they're heading to Sinai, which is down here toward the peninsula of Sinai. The Sinai Peninsula, how about that? And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. They mumbled, they griped, And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and we did eat bread to the full. They're already wistfully remembering their bondage in Egypt, right? For you would have brought us forth into this wilderness, and to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then the Lord said unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they walk in my law or no. In other words, that I may not prove them, but I may test them, whether they shall walk in my laws or not. And it shall come to pass on the 6th day, they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So God's going to bring in all this, manna, bread from heaven. But on the Sabbath day, God doesn't want them to do any work, so he's going to double the amount they gather on Saturday. And then that edict is repeated verbatim. Okay, now it's talking about if you don't do it, problems are going to happen. So that's why we're not reading it. And it came to pass that at evening the quails came up and covered the camp. And so here's a great cartoon image of Moses getting covered by all these quails in the evening. And in the morning, the dew lay round about the host of people. The dew is all around the encampment. And when the dew they lay was gone up, in other words, it evaporates, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoar, here the word means gray, frost on the ground. And here's Moses, totally surprised and shocked that there's this whitish gray frosty bread on the ground, right? And when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, "It is manna," for they wist not what it was. And this is one of those moments in Bible translation where people lose their minds. And essentially, you can just picture what happened. There's this frosty bread out on the ground. And so everyone walks out there, and everyone is saying, "What is it? What is this stuff?" And so that became its name. It's like they all said, "What's it?" Or something like that. And that's the word manna. There's no other thing in the world like it, right? Manna from heaven. And Moses said unto them, "This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating." This is a repeat of the grade stuff. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for each man. It's like, a little basket or a bowl. According to the number of your persons, take ye every man for them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and some gathered more, some gathered less. And when they did measure it with the omer, that meat, he that gathered much had nothing over, didn't have too much, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating, to his needs. And Moses said, "Let no man leave of it till the morning." Notwithstanding, they hearkened not. They didn't listen to him. They hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth, angry with them. That would be quite the buzzkill, wouldn't it? You have this delicious, bread from God, and he says, "Don't leave any overnight, because I'm going to give you more of it," and you don't listen. You disobey. What was the problem with Adam and Eve in the garden? It wasn't that they ate the tree of knowledge. They did what? They disobeyed the only rule that God gave them. And boom, banishment from the Garden of Eden. And here they have a couple of rules. It's kind of complicated, gather just as much that you need, gather twice as much on Saturday. But here's the first day. Just gather what you need, throw the rest away. And no, they can't do it. And so Moses probably losing his mind. It's like, what do I have to do to convince you people to obey the voice of God, even in simple stuff, But so anyway, he got mad. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. So by noon this stuff was gone. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread. Aha, they are obeying now. 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, "This is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye bake today, and seethe that you shall seethe," meaning steam it. You can bake this bread, or you can steam it even. "And that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning on the Sabbath." Now, I have to just be amazed that nearly every single culture on the face of the earth keeps the same calendar. 6 days you work and 1 day you rest. And nowadays, I guess in America, we have 5 days of work, 1 day of resting and partying, and then 1 day of going to church or whatever. That's how I look at it. I don't know about you, but I certainly work on my weekends, at least 1 day's worth of work, just to keep the house in order. And they laid it up till morning, as Moses bade, meaning past tense of the word to bid, or not. It's not so much as a commandment, but instructed. He instructed. They laid it up until the morning, as Moses instructed. And it did not stink, neither were there any worms in it. Yeah, you don't want any worms. And I'm sure everyone was expecting it, right? Because some of the people out of the 600,000 decided to test the Lord, and they had worms in their bread. And Moses said, "Eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto the Lord. Today you shall not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it shall there be none. And it came to pass that there still went some out of the people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse you to keep my commandments and my laws? Right? Since the Garden of Eden, this has been happening. See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place, let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. You know, here we are at the holy hand grenade moment. You know, remember that. People say, oh, we don't know what the Bible is saying. It was translated 20 times. No, it's translated once, and the Bible repeated itself over and over and over again to make the overriding message clear. Okay? And that's what you learn when you read the thing. Anyway, the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. You know, what's it? And it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. That sounds pretty good. I mean, I imagine those sugar wafers you can get at the store. You know, imagine if, you know, that sugar wafers, you know, those packaged cookies was the only thing you had to eat, and you could stay healthy. You know, that and some quails. You know, I think I could deal with that. Those sugar wafers, yeah, no problem. And Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord commandeth, fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness when I brought you forth. And so they saved a pot of this manna to be kept forever. Later we shall see that the pot was put into the Ark of the Covenant, the same Ark of the Covenant that was featured as one of the greatest movie props in the Indiana Jones and the... not the Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones and the the Ark of the Covenant, right? Or the Lost Ark. I forget the name of the movie. Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's what it was called. The Lost Ark. I forgot the name. And the children of Israel did eat manna for 40 years. How about that? I don't know. I'm going to go... I tell you guys, someone out there, go and buy those sugar wafers and only eat those and see how long you last, right? See if you can do it for 40 years. Report back. Until they came to a land inhabited, they did eat manna. Until they came to the borders of the land of Canaan, and an omer is a 10th part of an ephah. I hope that's clear. An ephah is about a bushel basket. So there you go. So an omer is quite a bit. Like I said, about a bowl, you know? Water from a rock. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. I wonder if this is a test. You know, another one of those tests that the Lord likes to spring on people. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses. You know, once again, they're chiding him. You know, they're chiding is a great verb, meaning to poke, you know, to bug, you know, to harass. And they said, give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, why chide you with me? Wherefore do you tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured, there's that murmuring again, against Moses, and said, wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of the land of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, what shall I do with this people? They be almost ready to stone me. I mean, I appreciate the despair, right? And the Lord's up there saying, tell me about it, right? And the Lord said unto Moses, go on before the people. It's like, it's funny, in the book of Exodus, you get this interplay between God and Moses. When one gets impatient, the other one says, hey, give him one more chance, right? No matter who it is. And it's funny. And the Lord said unto Moses, go on before the people, and take with thee the elders of Israel, and thy rod, wherewith thou smotest the river. You remember the parting of the Red Seas and all that, and the water into blood. Take in thy hand and go. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water, hit it, shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. Kaboom. And he called the name of the place Massa and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? War with Amalek. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And here I have highlighted the place on the map of Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, Choose us out men and go out and fight with Amalek. And tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. And he's going to hold it up. And on we go. And but Moses' hands were heavy. And they took a stone and they put it under him. And he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur held up his hands, the one on the one side and the one on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun, because when Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed, and when he let it down, Amalek prevailed. But now he's sitting on the rock, and all is well, the hands are stayed up. And Joseph discomfited Amalek with his people with the edge of the sword. Now that's a nice little phrase. Yeah, he made them uncomfortable with the edge of the sword. Discomfited them. I guess it reads better than, beheaded, gorged, slaughtered. But yeah, it probably was a little bit more than just discomfiting them. And the Lord said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Yeah, there are no nation of Amalek that I know of these days. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovah Nissi. And for he said, Because the Lord hath sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So apparently they're still out there somewhere. Now, this is the punchline. I adore this moment in the Bible. I really do. Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, comes to visit. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land, and the name of the other was Eliezer, for the God of my father said, He was mine help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. If you remember when Moses killed the Egyptian, and then had to escape, right? And then that's when he met Jethro, the high priest of Midian. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife unto Moses. And he said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law, have come with thee and their wife and their 2 sons. And Moses went out to his father-in-law and did obeisance and kissed him. And they asked each other the welfare, and they came into the tent. Now, I highlighted that just to show you what a remarkable person Moses was. That he honored his father-in-law, even though he was the leader of an entire nation of people. So imagine him coming out and just, bowing his head down. Jethro was a priest. So it's very touching. Very touching. Moses was indeed the humblest man on the face of the earth. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all that travail had come to him by the way, and how the Lord delivered them, right? He's not notice he's not saying I delivered them, he's saying the Lord. All I was a messenger, the mouthpiece. All I did was talk. The God did all the delivering. Or I held up my hands, I struck the rock, but I didn't do the miracles. That was the Lord. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hands of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord who hath delivered you. And so they took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God, and Aaron came and the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. So that's how big of a deal this was for Jethro to be welcomed into the camp, And I just find this whole scene very touching and very, just awesome. So Jethro casually invents representative government. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood by Moses from morning unto the evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did, for the people, he said, "What is this thing that thou art doing for this people? Why sit by yourself alone, and all the people stand by you from morning unto evening?" And Moses said unto his father-in-law, "Because the people come unto me to inquire of God. And when they have a matter, they come to me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them known the statutes of God and his laws." Moses, of all the people that walked the face of the earth, had one of those, direct phone lines to God, right? So when people came and said, "Well, what do we do?" Moses had the word. Amazing. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, "The thing that you're doing is no good." How's that for blunt, right? "Thou wilt surely wear away, both you and this people that is with thee, for this thing is too heavy for you, and thou art not able to perform it by yourself alone." So Jethro had the best interests of Moses, his son-in-law, and the people. So check this out. "Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee." Remember, he was a priest, not a nobody. "Be thou for the people to Godward." In other words, you will be between the people and God in case they need that direct phone line. You're the man. "And thou mayest surely bring the causes unto God." Obviously. "And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws." In other words, rules and principles. "You shall teach them principles and the ideas of God and laws, and thou shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do." Teach them. It's not that hard. "Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness." In other words, they're not, they don't want what this other guy has, right? They don't envy other people for what they have. "And place such over them to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50 and rulers of tens." Now they repeat that expression over and over again in this paragraph. And that's your representative government. So you picture it like this, like me. I would aspire to be a ruler of tens, because there's about 10 people in my family. I had 4 children, and then the 2 of my daughters married. We have some grandchildren. I think that makes a total of, wives and children, including about 12 people. So rulers of 10. I might be a ruler of 10. And then between me and my cousins and maybe my wife's brothers and sisters, there'd be like 50 people. And so we would elect a ruler out of all of us 50, right? And if there was more, then that would be like the ruler of hundreds. And so now out of that, maybe in this town that I live in, maybe out of the thousands, we would elect, the smartest person out of all of us. And there you have it, representative government. And now all of these little issues and arguments and debates and matters of law, matters of decision, matters of advice, now they're manageable. "And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter which they bring unto thee, unto Moses, and every small matter they shall judge. So it shall be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. If thou shalt do this thing, and God command thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure, and all this people shall also go to their place in peace." And there you go. "And Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law, and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all of Israel, and made them heads over the people." Boom. "And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land." And there you go, the template for representative government led by the laws of God, invented 3,500 years ago. And with that, I'm going to let us go. That was a quick one. Till next time, everybody, please take care.